mention it to them.
Hello, are you there?
Are we here?
I think we're here. I mean, I'm going to have to share the link and everything. I should start recording on this as well. No one's going to be here exactly now, are they? So it's not as if we have to do a professional opening to this programme. I'll edit it all anyway because we've got a guest, which if you're watching live, you won't know about. But if you record it, you will know.
We're here.
We are. It's a Happy New Year, viewer.
We're still in our closed season location.
Because the heater's on.
That's the only reason.
The heater's on. Is that by a fella from the Eagles? I've missed the one off the title of the thing. Oh, there's no one watching, so it's all right. It says 202. 17th of January 202. That's no good, is it? But people will like it eventually. The new year is here.
The new year is here.
It is the 2022 Rugby League season, brought to you by COVID-19 and vaccinations, but not for everyone, obviously, which is a shame. But we are back in our home of Monday nights. We're not giving this slot for the Championship, are we? I don't think. We're going to be. Don't tell them. We're just going to be here.
Unless they want to offer us a shed load of cash not to compete.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think we'll be finished before their games, won't we?
I mean,
I'd hope so.
We might even be at some of the games.
Might run out of things to talk about. Oh, I think we've had a comment. Live chat. Happy New Year from Switzerland. Karsten's here. Hello, Karsten. How are you? He's here. They're all coming in now. They've been waiting.
Do you know what? I like a long off-season.
Yeah.
I've seen a few people saying, can't wait for the rugby to come back. It's been a while since we're really excited by the return of meaningful rugby league. We saw it a bit this weekend with the first round of the Challenge Cup. Not a huge fan of friendlies. I think people read far too much into them. It's there for coaches to have a look at some combinations, but really blood everybody and get them out of that. We're doing drills against ourselves. We need some physical contact. Don't read too much in. Not a huge fan of charging the public full fees to get into games that are essentially academy matches. You've got to get that balance right. I'm not a fan of playing the teams that you play in your division unless maybe it's a testimonial game.
That is always a bit pointless, I find.
Because then we'll get the same, we play each other too many times during the season and it's losing its value. Well, then don't play each other in a friendly either. I think it does work when a Super League team plays a Championship team. So there were some good matches this weekend on that. Very privileged to be at the launch of the Midlands Hurricanes when they were at York last week.
This is not a Midland shirt, but this is just it's Perth Glory, but it's purple. I like the colour.
Which again served a great purpose to get the Midlands brand up and running. In a great facility at York. The story of York is sort of 5 years ahead of where Midlands are now, but showed them what they could be. So there is some value to having these games, but please don't get carried away with the results of them. You know, Wakefield are not now necessarily going to win Super League.
After 30 minutes,
because they beat Halifax.
Yeah, first 30 minutes were great, I was told today.
Well, they were, but
so,
just,
So,
gamble responsibly.
Yeah. Gary says, when are you getting the full team back on board? Logistics. Eventually, everything, eventually.
The world will allow us to do it at some point.
There are reasons. Some of them logistics, some of them COVID, some of them other things. But, eventually, it is.
Better to have half of us than none, I would have hoped.
Was Fev Leeds on YouTube? I didn't realise that.
No, the highlights have been.
Oh, because Carson's watched it free on YouTube. Maybe it was afterwards, I don't know.
Oh, it might have been on Featherstone TV if they streamed it.
If I'd have known, I watched that instead of what was I watching yesterday afternoon? Can't be Leeds United, because I won't watch that. Can't wait for them to have their...
Alf Garnett, your boys took a hell of a beating.
Alf Garnett?
One for the teenagers.
Carson says, any comment about the problem Trinity faced with travelling to France? Well, I'm not on furlough now, am I? So I've been mutually consented. The French, as we've learned, countries are allowed to take control of their borders, take back control until you can make a point against it. Like Novak Djokovic. He's got some interesting supporters, hasn't he? But
Not sure I'd want Nigel Farage in my camp for anything.
by the way, we should have started with the national anthem like they're going to do every day.
Oh, okay.
At 6 o'clock in the morning when no one's watching. So it's like watching this programme. It's an interesting one, Carson, isn't it? Because, you know, the question I would ask of players is why? Why? What? Not. I don't. If you've got a genuine reason,
And there are medical exemptions.
then that's fine. If you believe something your mate's told you that he saw on Facebook, that's not fine. And again, it's why you take supplements. All teams take supplements because they're all sponsored by supplement companies. We all know they put things in their bodies to make them better at being rugby players or whatever, or supposedly better. We know that when players are injured, they sometimes take injections to make them play through a game. We all take paracetamol all the time for aches and pains. No one reads a leaflet. There's side effects to everything. There are side effects to every decision we make in life has some kind of consequence. Now, I would ask the players, why? That's all. If they can come up with a decent reason, then, and if I was running a club and I had players in that situation, I would say to you, why? Because you might be putting your job at risk, which I know is an extreme scenario, but when you see players tweet about other sports people, which is easily debunked. I mean, I know we're not all experts like people who write letters to League Express last week, but I just asked them why. Not in any terms of, you know, I know everything's politicised nowadays, but just why. With everything else that you do, why this?
I think it's an issue for the clubs and not so much the game. I don't think the integrity of the game is necessarily questioned. I think it's how each club deals with whoever is in its club that it needs to deal with. Now, whether that means in future writing something into a contract, whether it means negotiating now on the basis of the fact that if you make a decision not to play that is non-rugby related, there is a provision that says you don't get paid for that game. I think the other thing about rugby league is it's a team sport. And I think, again, you know, you win, lose, draw together. So I think if somebody is putting the team in jeopardy, if they haven't got a reason other than, you know, a medical one to follow that line, clearly, I think that's the issue for me, that it isn't the integrity of the competition that's questioned. It has to deal with rules of the country it's going to play in. By the same token, I'm pretty sure that, you know, we've had clubs like New Zealand Warriors who have decamped to a different country for an entire year because that's what was needed to keep the competition going. It's not about the individual in the club, it's about the competition.
I think I said before Christmas when some players at some clubs were tweeting things about footballers and whatever who'd collapsed or this, that and the other. I find it A, disingenuous, and B, nothing short of offensive when in our sport we have seen, tragically, young people die in the last before COVID was ever a thing, before anyone knew what it was. And I think it's a difficult one, because Carson, I'm sure you're coming from the same perspective, and I'm sure Gav is here, where he says, bottom line, if they've been fine to bugger off to the sun on their holidays during the off-season, they can't have much excuse for travelling. You know, see pictures of players in pubs and stuff. You know, it's... And I know it's a big debate in Australia at the moment in terms of what players are being asked to do and not to do. It's difficult when you are not a professional athlete to understand what they do, and I know Danica doesn't like the word sacrifice, but to us they are sacrifices that they make to have as long a career and as successful a career as possible. But it's difficult for us because we'd all love to be out there playing. We'd all do whatever we could to be the best at what we wanted to do, but we can't because we don't have those abilities to do so. So we don't have that knowledge of what they're going through. But it is hard when you sit on the sidelines as we are now and think, right, if you don't go to the pub for a year, you could extend your career. If you have this vaccination, you can go and play in France in a match. What about the World Cup? We don't know what's going to happen in 5 years, in 3 years' time. They might not be allowed to play in the World Cup.
I think the the other thing is that we published a book a while ago about a player who brought up the issue of prescription drugs. Perfectly legal to be given them, they're on prescription, but if you become addicted to it, if it becomes part of your routine, if it affects your mood, your sleep pattern, all of that players are being asked to deal with on a day-to-day basis. There's not a lot of questioning of what goes on. It's deemed to be performance enabling rather than performance enhancing, and a lot of them after a game will go down that route. I have absolutely total respect for anybody that says I will not put anything in my body. Absolutely entitled to do that, but you can't pick and choose. You can't say I'm prepared to allow myself to have treatment that involves steroids or whatever it might be, but I'm not prepared to be injected against a virus where 82% of the players now are taking that option. I think the other thing that we need to look at beyond each individual club is that the economic impact of perhaps losing some games to broadcast partners, and the reason why Australia have gone so heavy on trying to restrict their players, keep them in almost back in bubbles, even though they're not really in use in the way that they were in the states that they're playing, that keeping them out of indoor areas where they're more at risk than they would be if they're out on a training paddock. All of that is because the price of not being able to play some games on television means that the whole of the competition would be affected. We cannot afford to pay back monies to Sky if some people decide they perhaps don't want to be vaccinated for issues other than moral or medical, and the game itself then is in a financial penalty situation that it cannot afford at the moment.
I said it during the first lockdown, which seems like a million years ago now, but people need to be aware of their actions in terms of the future of their employments. And as we've seen with one person, it can end up with you losing your job. And it could be the whole of the sport. And that's melodramatic. It probably won't be, but it could be. Yeah. It's a difficult one because, as I say, if you just gone there blind, like sheep, blindly queued up at the vaccination centre and got your bit of cardboard and you're happy, then it's not an issue, is it? But people want to make issues out of things. It's not picking on Wakefield, but they're the club who've come out and said something.
I also think
today,
that it depends who the players are. I mean, you would worry that those clubs that are coming out saying it could be an issue, they might know that within their club it's the 6 players that are going to be very important to them this year, if it's 6 or whoever it might be. But every club has injuries. Every club has players who are suspended. So if you are now told, where are we, 2-3 weeks away from the start of the season, you are not going to be able to go if you are unvaccinated, you have to make provision for that. Your squad has to be strong enough to be able to cope with that.
And we can't go down the shambles that football is in the moment in the Premier League, where games are being called off willy-nilly, despite the fact that we know they've all got a million kids. I mean, someone brought up the example of Bayern Munich at the weekend. Typical Germans, efficient and all that. But they had a lot of young players on their bench who I don't think they've ever played in the league, but they just got on with it. And we've got to get on with it, because otherwise...
I don't think it impacts on the integrity of the competition. I think that is the wrong line to go down if you want to protest about it. Whether it aids Catalan and Toulouse, we'll have to wait and see. We're talking about dropping a lot of the restrictions over here, so you would think that they've got some unvaccinated players in their squads who it's not going to apply to, and that's where perhaps it becomes a little bit more unfair. But look what Catalan had to do last year by way of the way they travelled over here, the way they couldn't go anywhere before a game, they had to fly in at their cost, normally hiring the aeroplane, sit in the Totally Wicked Stadium on their own for 3 hours. They actually had their best season of away form because they found a way of coping with that. So let's not focus too much on that, because there actually are some positives at the moment.
Imagine someone who refuses to get vaccinated gets picked to go on tour in Australia. If they're happy to kick out the biggest name in tennis, a UK rugby league player's got no chances, Gav. Yeah, but, I mean, the biggest hypothetical there is going on tour to Australia. That's not happening, Gav. Come on now. Come on. France, They're holding the World Cup in 2025, which is exciting because they had the French Prime Minister there, who I'm sure, granted, people like me who are thick didn't know that existed. Macron, he's that fella. They've got another fella as well, and he was there, and he's on the back of the paper today. Viva la France, as he says in Scott's column.
They did it really well. Clearly, it would have been lovely if people could have all been in the room, if they hadn't necessarily had to do some of it on Zoom. But actually, it was given a real gravitas. Doing it in Paris was fantastic. The Prime Minister himself comes from a region that isn't far away from the Dragons, so he talked knowledgeably about rugby league. There was mention of the Vichy government, which at least is an acknowledgement at the very top of power. They had other ministers there that were in charge of infrastructures, whether it be the medium-sized towns or whatever. They all spoke really well. Like we're saying that the World Cup this year, we hope will link into events like the Commonwealth Games and the Gymnastics Championships and the Football World Cup to make this, this whole summer of sport, and we have a meaningful part to play in that. They're saying, well, 23, 24, 25, they've now got major global events. The infrastructures that they're putting in for the 23 event, for the Olympics in 24, and now the Rugby League World Cup in 25, they're going to trade off the back of that. They're talking about social impact and cohesion, and again, the fact that this first time ever there'll be 4 World Cups. And Youth World Cup is a really exciting concept. We haven't got the full details of that yet. Is it going to be just men, 17 to 19? Is there going to be a women's element to that as well? But the fact that there could be 128 games, you've seen the initial maps, which are not set in stone because there's been lots of host bids, but it's not just in the south of France where rugby league is strong, it's throughout the nation. If we can pull this off, and there genuinely is government support, which is why it was so important to have the Prime Minister accept the bid on behalf of the nation, the second most important man in the country in terms of politics, it is exciting. And this story of the Dragons, winning the Challenge Cup, then becoming league leaders, then getting to a grand final, Toulouse now being in Super League, the likelihood, although not yet signed, of at least a 1-year TV deal to supplement the finances of all of the Super League clubs. You would hope on the back of that maybe a decision would be made about Toulouse and perhaps protecting their position because it's for the benefit of the competition as a whole. Leading in now to a World Cup, a second World Cup in the Northern Hemisphere, which again gives the chance for the game in this part of the world to have that spotlight on it for a little bit longer. That all of that is actually a good news story that we can play to. So I think the announcement of the World Cup in France and the manner in which it was done was absolutely superb. The Trent Robinson came on, spoke in beautiful French, and they translated him into English.
Happy birthday, Steve Mascott, who mentioned
yesterday, I think.
Oh, yesterday. Apologies.
He's hungover today, having had his birthday in the pub yesterday.
I don't know why we haven't had Steve on the podcast. He's on everyone else's podcast, but we'll get. I did promise him before at the party last year. I said we'll get you on, Steve, but he's not launched his book properly yet.
Well, he's launched it and he's going to relaunch it.
Yeah.
It's out there.
I've got a copy. I've got a first edition. That must be worth at least. I tell you what, I did buy off eBay a pile of rugby league books, which I've got a couple of them, but also including Rugby's Great Split, which is
great book.
Which is a great book to have. That was in the Barnsley College Library back when I was a student. Wayne Bennett,
he's backed it,
has hailed a World Cup returning to France in 2025 as a masterstroke for the sport and its future. And he could be inspired by a possible coaching gig. The England job's not bulky, I guess, is it?
One thing I would say as well is that the IRL, who clearly own the World Cup, looks as though, on the basis of how it's handled the postponement of the 2021 version and what we're now going to get, hopefully, the world permitting in 2022, bigger, better, bolder, stronger, fitter, faster, whatever it's going to be.
You only need 3 words, that's how you do
whatever
slogans.
it is. And the fact that they championed France and have pulled off, together with Luc Lacoste and his bid committee, the announcement that it's going there. Actually, they have come out of this really well as well. I think there is a sense that international rugby league start to mean something again. The right words are being spoken by the right people. They've got a very eloquent chairman. You would hope that the money that is the profit that is gained at the end of the 2021 World Cup this year will be sufficient for them to again have resource behind them as well as well intentioned. But I do think that after everything we've been through, and we must laugh at the world rankings as well. Australia
what's happened to the
fourth.
world? Are they
Australia fourth, dropped to fourth, lowest they've ever been. You don't play, we will survive without you. But I do think international rugby league and the comments of people like Wayne Bennett, Trent Robinson, just been elevated a little bit by this whole episode. And as we've always said on this programme, it has to be the pinnacle that you start at.
Is it in the? I assume there's a 4020 style guide. I've not seen it, but is that officially referred to now as the 2023 event? Is that what it's called?
I refuse to mention it. They stole the name, so I'm not going to give them the publicity.
Well, that's why I got accredited for the 2015 event, so I could just go and eat some food and watch some not very good rugby. But there you go. So it's all exciting. I mean, Carson, you'll be going. He's not happy because I bought that book. I don't know what I can say, Carson, but it was nice to see it. You can look out for these things and go. You're going to take opportunity when it knocks, and then get told off by your wife for buying more crap off eBay. But what can you do? So the World Cup's going to France. That's exciting. There they are. Bienvenue, France 2025. I don't know what 2025 is in French. But it's going to be exciting. The World Cup this year is going to be exciting. I tell you what is exciting as well is, I know when you dig down on the detail, the deal with the sportsman is not as exciting as it sounds because it's just the media wing of Betfred. But the fact that there's going to be League One stroke wheelchair stroke women's games free to wear on YouTube is great, and probably will get a lot. We're in that strange situation now where the Super League's on Sky, Men's Super League, and Channel 4.
Who have advertised it.
There you go, Channel 4. Is it in the middle of making a traction? We don't know. Didn't watch it. League One and wheelchair and women's going to be on YouTube for free, and then Championship's hidden behind a paywall that's going to be watched by 3 people, which is a shame. But it's great for everyone. I think it's great. We've said for ages, just stick stuff on YouTube.
Yeah.
You know, Carson watched Feven Leeds yesterday. What was I watching the other day? It was on Saturday afternoon. I had I was doing my thing, and had the game on in the background on mute, so I couldn't hear Matt Horton and lose his voice. But I was able to keep an eye on it. And as soon as it finished, YouTube recommended that I watched some live netball. So people are going to see it recommended at least. They might not click on it. I don't know. But
I mean, we've been big fans of the wheelchair arm of the sport ever since we first came across it. One of the reasons that is starting to take off is because it was free to view, and people went, oh, out of curiosity, I might just watch it. We know it's that good. If you watch a minute of it, you're going to watch a lot more of it. I think there is genuine. I think the Championship arguably is the most open of the 3 competitions this year. So let's hope that even if it's behind a paywall, people will start saying, Monday night, that's not a bad night to be watching rugby league.
Get the highlights out there as soon as possible.
Yeah, back it up with some highlight content or some shows that tell you about the people that are playing in it. I think as you point out with our guest on the show, that not only are there great players now in the Championship, there's great coaches as well. There's big copy out there if we can get it out to the right people. Super League, I think, in the latest issue of, which we're clearly not here to promote, out now in the shops, there is the looking at where teams might finish in the Super League and the Championship. Championship done expertly by Batley coach Craig Lingard.
Who, if you listen to the podcast,
he's a bloke worth listening to.
If you listen to the podcast, it'll be on after. If you're watching, you'll have to wait till I've edited the video.
But you look at the Championship, you say there really could be 6 or 7 clubs in the promotion mix. Super League, I think you've still got a top 4, a middle 4 and a bottom 4. You might not know where each team's going to finish position-wise, but you look at where we are at the start of the season, and of course Hull KR defied predictions last year. There is always a team that will. But generally, you've got a rough idea. You know, I don't think St Helens going to be battling against relegation this year. So you've got a fair idea of where the teams are going to finish. So it's the stories we've got to promote. It's the fact that, you know, Warrington's first game, which happens to be on Channel 4, is the start of the Darryl Powell era. That's what you've got to sell it as. So yeah, I'm quite excited that we can get away from talking about what is or isn't happening off the field in smoky committee. Do they have smoky committee rooms anymore? They're not allowed to smoke. So,
private members clubs, you do whatever you want.
But all of the speculation over the last 2 or 3 months is why haven't we had realignment, and where is this commercial partner that we're going to have, and what does the new strategy look like, and who's going to implement it. And we can actually get away from that now that the rugby started. The Challenge Cup first round was great this year. The second round looks really exciting because you've got an all forces clash.
I mean, if you can't sell that,
you've got an all London clash, which I'm pretty sure we won't have had before. I can't remember the Scholars playing the Broncos in the Challenge Cup. So we've got an all London clash. We've got an all Leeds clash, Hunslet and Stanningley. I think we've got some great games that are already elevating this competition that has an early start at a new venue come the final. So let's let the action on the pitch tell the stories. That's what's exciting for me.
Not that I've forgotten it was not at Wembley this year, but
it's not.
A lot of things have happened. I can't remember everything that's coming up in 2021. I was going to say something about the. We talked about the sport. I was going to say something else now, but yeah, Carson. He's happy. Carson, you want to come back because put it in your diaries, viewers. 15th of February, day after Valentine's Day. I'm going to be back live in person somewhere. Can't confirm it yet because it keeps being moved because of everything. But fingers crossed we'll be back live. I mean, what a perfect late Valentine's present that is for your partner to come and watch us talk about rugby league live in person.
And hopefully we'll be doing some stuff around the World Cup as well.
Fingers crossed. So hopefully it will be another exciting year of content. We've already watched the video about the shirts. I know you all enjoyed that.
And your quiz unboxing.
The quiz.
No, Christmas Day.
Christmas Day. Excitedly, Wakefield Trinity women have signed some ladies have signed some players this weekend, which is exciting. And we've got 2 players in the student squad. And the 31-woman England performance thing was announced last week. And someone we actually spoke to last year, Kira Bennett's in there, which is good. Those big boots to fill of Lewis Vassell's at Leeds. But
York have got new owners.
Yes.
And that impacts on their women's team because, again, clearly they obviously are one of the most forward-thinking clubs when it comes to offering season tickets that includes both arms of the game. Safe to say they've recruited, but when you look at some of the, Holly Dodd and Tara Jane Stanley, I think their last 2 signings, you can't question the quality of either of those 2 players. So, I genuinely am excited with what we might get on the field this year. You're laughing.
No, I'm just...
Huddersfield.
What about Huddersfield?
They've got their first women's international.
Yes, Shona Hoyle, yeah.
Warrington are signing players.
Yeah. Wigan aren't, or doesn't look like a signing. Barrow signed some players. It's all exciting. What's it, Carson? I'm just looking work till the end of March. I hope to get back in the summer. I'm sure we'll do something in the summer, Carson. Well, I hope so. If anyone, by the way, from outside West Yorkshire wants us to come and visit your place, then get in touch. Send pies. Gav, come on. They've recruited most of the cast team now, but the cast have got a new coach now. So
they have,
everyone's
but it's the
rebuilding.
Quality of the recruitment. That's
Well, it's going to be difficult because obviously Salford played their first game at the weekend against Swinton. So that's another couple of teams who, there's more women's teams being set up all the time. So it's going to be interesting where all the talent comes from. To fill all these spots.
Well, and Wales and Ireland played their first women's international. Now they're talking for the French World Cup of having 16 teams in each competition. Well, at the moment there are probably 14 women's teams registered, 2 of which have maybe played 1 test match. Again, it's an area that we need to. So Africa, if we're going to talk about another region that has real potential, both for men and women. I have to applaud Salford for the link that they've got with Ghana, sending not just kit out there but expertise and inviting some of the Ghanaians back over to Salford. All of those kind of links are exactly the kind of thing that will move the game forward and are exciting.
I don't know if we have any Salford fans watching us anymore, because I know they got upset when we tipped them not to win something once, and but their kit this year is awful. And it is the worst of the lot, because the sponsors, it doesn't fit properly. But,
very, very hard to predict how individual players are going to go before you've seen how they integrate in a team. But one of the guys I am really looking forward to seeing this year is Brodie Croft. I think you look at the systems he's been through. If he actually could be equivalent to what Jackson Hastings did for Salford, and I hope he does.
I think it's crossed, because their fans need to move on from Jackson Hastings.
My only worry, and it's not my worry, it's their worry, is where they're going to be playing after this year. And
Wow.
you know, the thought that they gave up the Willows to move to the AJ Bell because facilities determined that that's what they needed to do, and they may end up back at Moor Lane, which is nearer the Willows than the AJ Bell. That would be sad.
Steve says, any news on Wakefield and Castleman's new ground? Well, not Castleman's, but Wakefield. It's going. It's happening. Probably. Done another statement
April,
today.
Did they say?
So, don't know who the second state will be by then, but it's all exciting.
It's not been called in for jurisdiction by the Secretary of State, which means it moves further down the road of you can start work.
Gav says, they'll be back for our pitch next. I mean, they wouldn't want the stands. I got in trouble for tweeting something like that. Gav? Yep, from your watching. I'll get banned. I did email. I didn't reply to an email I sent last week, so I don't know. We don't have toilets, we have bravery pits at the jungle, says Gav.
As Gav is on, the big question is, what is he expecting the style of his team to play?
Hashtag new Cass era and the Lee Radford.
Is there a concern among Cass fans that it goes from being the classy Cass under Darryl Powell or classy Cass Mark II, because he's from the area, understands exactly what the DNA of it is, how you need to approach playing the game, and Lee Radford, who seems to have recruited big players across the backs and the forwards.
Hashtag conservative Cass.
But
with a small C.
But is it...
probably a big C as well.
Do the Cass fans want entertainment or success, or a combination of both? Can you have both?
I'd rather have success than the other one. I'd rather win Super League winning 1-0 every week. I mean, that'd be great. Can you imagine the fun? But no, it'd be great. Carlson says, great fishing by Caitlin Beavers in the Challenge Cup. No mistake and always on the point. She referees games have you not heard of in Women's Super League?
I think the other thing about that is a great story, and you don't want to put pressure on a referee by making a big deal about who is refereeing. But had the media perhaps known that she was going to referee that game a little earlier, some of the previews and profiles and those stories around the edge that elevate your sport, in what other sport would a current women's international be refereeing a Challenge Cup game? That is a really, really good story. And again, I know it's all to do with appointments and not putting additional pressure on her, but we need to tell stories like that.
We've missed the boat on that before, haven't we, when she refereed at Wembley?
Yeah, we need to. And if she was great, then, and the cameras were on her, I don't think she would worry about people knowing in advance that she was going to officiate.
This programme is not anti-Castleford. Dennis has been on. I always thought the jungle was the British Portakabin Museum. I mean, Dennis, I'm from Wakefield. Have you seen Bellevue? What's it called now? The Be Well Stadium, I think it's called now. It's our new name.
Right.
Be Well. I've certainly been well over the lockdown. Done too much weight, but we're all excited. Gav is back. Honestly, I'm cautious, Cass. I've always seen Radford as a bully team style of coach. Maybe unfair, but I always remember how Watts improved his game from Thug when he moved from Radford to Powell. Oh, that's a bit harsh on Neil Watts, isn't it? He's an international player. Is he an international?
He has to. Well, he's been in squads. Okay. Yeah, I'm sure he's played for him.
Paul McShane, captain. Here's
Makes
the great.
sense.
I mean, our friends at the Hypothetic Rugby League podcast. Here's the one for you. What if that deal hadn't have happened? What if Scott Moore had stayed at Cass and Paul should have stayed at Wakefield? What would have happened? We still believe in Bradford. But I don't know what happened to Paul McShane or Scott Moore. Well, no, we do know what happened. So yeah, I am invoking common law. I don't know if you saw this on
I
social.
saw your tweet.
So
It's not
because now we
gonna
can do it. No, we can do it now because you can go. Like I've seen these people go to the vaccination centres and say, "No, I'm closing you down." So I'm invoking common law and the Magna Carta and getting 1968 overturned. And while we're at it, Neil Summers try. Taking it all back. So if there's any results you want changing from the history of rugby league, let us know. We can't change it, but you know, we're more than happy to send a load of emails to Ralph and say, "Can you
turn up at where are the rugby league these days with a sheet of paper going, we are entitled."
I was there protesting outside Red Hall for our points back in
Red Hall now a hair transplant.
Yeah, fine, and everyone's done what you'd expect, which is great. Nothing like predictability. So we're getting a third group running rugby league. Is it going to be like Rugby League Enterprise? They're going to sell jumpers.
Yeah. But I think that was always part of the plan. I'm not
the
sure.
The marketing arm of
yeah, with all the
commercial
properties of the game in one place. So you are a potential sponsor or commercial partner, and you walk in and go, "What can I have?" It's not, "Oh, we'll go and see him over there if you want that, and her over there if you want that." It's like, "What do you want? Here are our portfolio of products. You can have some or all of them, but just deal with us." So yeah, that makes sense. That was always part of the deal. I think it's just as a company how it's structured as to who owns how much of which, but that's not really a surprise.
Now, one thing that they are going to have to approach, one assumes, because if there's anything we know about Barry Hearn, he's quite smart. He's got an OBE. Is that the same as Kevin Sinfield? What did he get? He got one now. Sir Kevin Sinfield, sorry. And you may have noticed or not, because I get told off talking about darts, that they're moving their sponsorship profile from bookmakers to not bookmakers.
The same people that sponsor the World Cup.
Because they're off of the World Cup and Everton and all the other things they sponsor. So that is obviously something that we are going to have to. If Barry Hearn seems to be going that way, then someone must know something about the way the wind's going to go. And I think we've all worked this out for a while now. I mean, we're lucky in a sense that all our eggs are in one basket, so it's not as if we have to annoy a load of people, but that is something we're going to have to worry about in the future. So we'll see what happens. Has anyone been to any friendlies? I mean, I'm off to Fev. Off to Fev on Sunday. I'm looking forward to that. You know, last time I think I was at Fev watching Wakefield's men was, as referenced on social media, was the day Michael Korkinos made his debut and got sent off for punching someone, and a legend was born. Not yet in the Hall of Fame.
Proud favourite.
Yes. So I've been looking to go into Fev, and obviously Fev yesterday played Leeds in a game which saw Featherston Rovers players audition to play for Leeds reserves in 2022. So that's exciting. Bradford beat Hull, so obviously Bradford are going to win. Bradford are back. That's been the editorial in the paper.
Very, very young Hull team.
Borough beat Newcastle. I'm just looking at the paper now. Castleford beat York. That's good for Cass. Witness beat Batley. No one's really bothered about these results, are they? Because they don't matter.
Please don't be bothered about it. Do not.
Well, sorry, I say that, but working to beat Whitehaven does matter.
Yeah, but again, and it's great that they're playing for a trophy in the name of a legend in Ike Southern, but I'd rather they played for that trophy in the league season.
Yes.
I think, which may or may not be agreed with by our guest, as and when you get to hear him. That you play the important games too often, and it takes the value out of them.
Kobe Poaching, when
He's good.
When he eventually makes his debut for the first time, will become the first son of a coach to play for Wakefield since Lionel Harbin.
Has he got a heritage number?
Well, I think he played one game, so yes, he will have. But I don't think his dad picked him. I think he was picked before then. You know, it's awful to think that 2001 season was so long ago, because I remember a lot of it as if it was yesterday. Oh, Salford beat Swinton, and the women beat Swinton as well. So it's all positivity in Swinton. I'm trying to think what else is in. Oh, Sheffield Eagles. They're going to be moving back home soon. So
Excellent.
that's good.
That is good. That is
I'm
good.
just looking through
The OLP Stadium is, I think, going to be opened again in April. I think we're playing London Broncos. Is it at home that they're earmarked that game for? And it's going to hold about 4,000. So again, a boutique kind of stadium that is an asset to the sport. And hats off to former general manager now, Liam Claffey, who's been involved in a lot of the work to get them back to where they are, and is moving on. Good man. Hope he's still involved in the sport.
Well, yeah, we're too positive today. Everything's very. I mean, apart from people not being able to go to France, but apart from that, it's all.
Because
welcome
we've
to the
got
fall
something
new
to look
season.
forward to.
The telly, everyone's on zero right now. A couple of weeks time, might be.
And I think there are some really interesting questions about how teams are going to perform. I mean, how are Hull going to go? Who finished the season so poorly last year that they have to start up and running.
Well,
The same with Wigan, who changed their coach because even though they made the playoffs, there was this question mark about their inability to score last year. What are they going to look like with Sean Wayne back there? I think all of these questions are really intriguing. What's the Leeds half-back pairing going to be like? They played together before, but it's critical even with the start that I think Leeds have got 3 of the top 4 in their first 4 games. So there's going to be no leeway. A lot of teams are going to have to hit the ground running, and that's great for those of us that just love meaning in matches.
Because
every minute's going to matter.
Every minute will matter. I didn't know the fixtures. So I genuinely just I'll wait and see what's in the paper the week before and say, these teams are playing these things. Wakefield's first 3 games apparently are Hull, Catalans and St Helens. Hull first, now I can't remember the order of the other 2. So if Wakefield go to Hull and win, or I don't even know where it is, if Wakefield beat Hull, then the pressure's already on Brett Hodgson. There you go, in your goldfish bowl in Hull. So it's
It'll be really interesting to see Hull KR this year because other clubs will be now wary of what Rovers can bring. That almost surprise element is gone. And can they still play exactly the same way that they did last year that was so successful and refreshing? Or are teams going to find ways to say, look, Jordan Abdul isn't going to get the kind of space that we gave him last year. We're not going to let the ball go out to the Kenny Dowell, Ryan Hall side. And, Kane Lynette does need wrapping up. He's on the tip sheet, and he might have been, but now we need to do X, Y, get 2 men on him, or whatever it might be. I think the start of the season for each division, who are going to be the front runners in the Championship? There's pressure on Featherstone and Lee, but Halifax have recruited more than anybody else. Bradford, can they afford to be off the pace early on in the season?
You can't afford to be off the pitch because you've got all that shale on you, or whatever it is.
London, what are they going to be like at Wimbledon? Admittedly, gone from full-time to part-time, but a new coach who's going to, with a lot of young kids that are going to want to play for him. It's intriguing. Batley, who upset everybody last year, and Whitehaven as well, who had a really good season. And you look at League One, Swinton, Rochdale, Keighley,
Cornwall. Got some players now.
Well, they've got 3.
Got 3.
Maybe,
Midlands appears to have got loads of players. That's good. So that's positive.
Well, the Midlands playing in Birmingham is going to be interesting as well.
Officially the best kit in rugby league this year, of course, on an official Forty20 TV poll done by me. So
asking yourself,
yeah, what do you think? That's how we report news these days. Cap says, if you're fed up with positives, there's the usual notorious attention-seeking voices making noise on social media. I think I've blocked them all, Gav. I think I've blocked them all. It makes life much easier. Oh, but my block list is full of people I don't like and people off the telly who just annoy me. So, speaking of telly, we mentioned the sports, we mentioned Premier. We don't know who's going to be part of the Premier broadcasting team.
Yet. We're trying to find out on a daily basis, but nobody's telling.
And that's soon. And Channel 4 as well. We don't know who's going to be fronting their coverage, commentating on their coverage, hanging around at the side of their coverage.
They've promised it's going to be look and feel different. Well,
it's just got to be good. You don't need to reinvent the wheel, because
You don't, but I think you do need a fresh
you
approach,
need different
and
things,
you do
but-
need different opinions. I mean, we'd all have a list of people that we would like to be involved in the coverage, but if Adam Hills is the fronting it, great. I've been talking maybe Helen Skelton might be
She's
involved
good. She's like
because she's a
production,
consummate television professional, understands the game and the people that play it. If James Simpson, for example, is part of the coverage and brings a different perspective, I'm all
He's
for
still
that.
got his moustache. He's still got that.
Oh yes.
We need Tony Romo, because watching the NFL and he's amazing how he predicts what's going to happen next. And I know he's obviously got more time in American football match to tell you what's going to happen next. But the way he analyses plays and breaks them down is
Well,
superb.
Peter
So
Sterling
we
was
need that
fantastic
kind
at
of-
that on Channel 9.
I think you need to.
He's free
There you go. Get him
because
over.
he's retired from broadcasting over there. Bring
Can't-
him over.
can't- You need that. You need to have coverage which is welcoming to everyone, but not dumbed down.
Yeah.
But you also need it where you can show people what has happened and why things have happened, because that's what.
It's a gift to be able to explain that, and Sterling was one of the best.
They have great hair as well.
And then no hair.
Oh, Gav's talking about an owner of a championship club. I wonder who that would be.
It's not about
He's not
administrators,
blocked.
though, is it?
He's not blocked on the list.
It's not about administrators. That's what we were told.
What was that? Yeah. Fans pay their money, and we've all got opinions. Some of them are right, some of them are yours. But what can we do? I don't know. It's going to be a fascinating year in the championship.
I also
That is
think
something.
that there's a lot of championship players who are playing for World Cup spots. So for nations like Jamaica, Greece, even Samoa, who look on paper as if they really could be up there. So I think there's added incentive for a lot of players this year, which is going to make the competition they play in even better to watch. Why wouldn't you be excited? We might have reservations about some things within the game, but the one thing we know is that the players will always give us something to talk about.
World Cup watch. We need to know who to watch every week to say, here is player X and player Y who's going to be scoring all those tries with the Sully Bowl at all those venues. I wonder if any MPs on Wigan won't mind that there's no games in the 2025 World Cup going to be held there like they did last time. I don't know. Is there anything else we need to talk about?
I think we just wanted to be back, didn't
Yeah.
we? And whilst positivity is not normally our game, there is a lot to be
Give it a week.
genuinely excited about.
I'll wait for your list of Fev next. My nephew's never been to Featherstone before, so he's looking forward to it. I mean, I don't know why,
Well,
but
he'll be envious once he gets there.
well, yeah.
He'll go back and say, why can't we have a facility like this?
Now we realise because we didn't get it from Scarborough. Now and that is sad when you go into Scarborough on the main road and it's not there anymore. It's a Lidl or something. So it's very sad. Now he's learned that he's got a spurious relationship with a professional rugby league player. He's very excited.
Oh, actually, it's very good.
Yeah, he's not as interested as having a spurious relationship with someone who's in the rugby league media, because that's boring. But
I mean, obviously, what I would say, because I am biased,
Yeah.
is get the latest
4020
magazine, which has predictions of where teams will finish in the Super League and an analysis of all the teams in the Championship. And next time we're on, tell us where we're wrong.
Yeah. Tell us which Featherstone players will be playing for Leeds reserves. The reserve comp.
Or even first team.
The reserve comp's going to be a. I don't want to be negative. I don't.
I worry that we're asking
I don't know what it is.
reserves, academy, dual reg, loan. You've got to have a lot of players, and then you add COVID into that as well. That something's got to give, and I hope we're not bringing it back just at the wrong time, because there is a place for a proper reserve grade. But if it's going to end up being ringing up Wakefield ringing up Batley on a Thursday night, going, "Have you got any players that could play in our reserve grade?" It's not really what we're looking for.
The return of A, another B, another A trial list, B trial list, C trial list, D trial list. Let's call the games off. So that's it. We're back. If you listen to the podcast, Batley coach Craig Lingard follows shortly. He says lots of interesting things.
He's very good.
If you're watching on YouTube, then it won't be. And if you're watching on Facebook, it won't be, because this will be a repeat. But I'll put it up as a separate video. But yeah, thank you all for watching. There's 22 people watching now, so that's record viewers. Whoa. But you're still downloading the podcast. That's the main thing. And, like, share, subscribe, buy the magazine. Sponsor it. Oh, no, we don't have sponsors.
No.
We
We would accept one.
Yeah. Biscuits, man. Because I know biscuits today, look, you've noticed. I mean, Christmas has finished. Your house is probably full of biscuits. Send them in. 4020 TV. Leeds. They'll get here.
The postman knows who we
Oh,
are.
that popular. Chris Evans versus Chris Moores. That's the Warrington Leeds game. Leeds Warrington. Or Kerry Katona versus someone from the Kaiser Chiefs.
Josh Warrington.
Josh Warrington.
He's not from the Kaiser Chiefs.
No. He's fighting again soon, isn't he?
Is he?
Possibly.
Right.
I don't think ahead of me though. And, congratulations, Kevin Sinfield. Congratulations to all the other people who got honours in the last one that I've forgotten about.
You can read about Emma Rose one in the...
There you go. So you've been working for the Alpha for 20 years or something?
40.
40. Deserves a medal. Will there be a video with Linus, says Carson? Yes. If the laptop has worked, there will be. We asked some questions. I got the venue of the Challenge Cup final wrong this year because I forgot. But yes, there will be a video.
And he's good.
Yeah, it's good. It's on Radio Leeds, it has to be good. But yeah, Rugby League is back because the Challenge Cup is back, and we're back. And yeah, I don't have anything else to say. So if you listen to the podcast, enjoy the rest of it. If you're watching on YouTube, we'll be probably back again next week. And then if we'll have a guest, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But I can talk about my exciting trip to Featherstone.
That's what we all want to hear.
Yeah. What are the pies like at Featherstone? Coming soon, pies at Grounds. We haven't done that was something we were going to do at Radio Yorkshire, I think, Rugby League food, but never got around to doing it. But those were the days when we were funded by a benevolent dictator. There aren't that many.
We could give away tins of mushy peas.
Yeah. Do they still sponsor Rugby League? Every time I think I'm going to slag off Northern Rail, I think, no, you can't, because they're a partner of Rugby League, and you might get in trouble. You might get banned from going to the World Cup or something. But it is what it is. Thanks for watching. It's good to have you back.
Thanks for interacting.
Yeah. You've been good tonight. Maybe it's because we're down here. It's more relaxed. I don't want to be behind the desk. I don't know.
Well, we will do. We'll get back to the table attack.
And then if you want to, tell Channel 4, we're here. We're only up the road. I can take that Saturday off. You know what I mean? I don't know. But as Harry Grayson used to say,